When you think of the Mid-American Conference, what player do you think of first? Shall we remember some guys? How about this guy at Marshall? I don't even have to name him. Or maybe this guy, Chad Pennington, who was on the same team? Maybe Central Michigan's Antonio Brown? Bet y'all didn't know J.J. Watt started his career at Central Michigan. Real Mac heads will remember Omar Jacobs, the Bowling Green quarterback. Who could forget Byron Leftwich, literally being carried down the field by his offensive lineman on one leg? Can I get a Khalil Mack at Buffalo? Maybe a Jordan Lynch at Northern Illinois? Dare I say, may I have a Dan Lefevre? And you know the only prescription for Dan Lefevre is more cowbell. But look, the modern peak of the MAC was in 2003. That year, Miami University won the league with some of the best quarterback play the MAC has ever seen. A guy by the name of Ben Roethlisberger, who set a bunch of records before getting drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Roethlisberger led the Red Hawks past Bowling Green in the MAC championship game, and it was a huge deal. You can tell how big a deal the MAC was this season by who ESPN had in the booth calling their games. Now, the MAC still plays good football, but let's be honest. Can you name a memorable moment in the last 5 years? The last 10? Or do you think of the MAC as the conference that's on your TV on a Tuesday night in October, giving you football to watch when the alternative is watching hockey, playing games in completely empty stadiums? This is the story of how the MAC, as it used to exist, was destroyed, and how it needed to be reborn into something totally different. I'm Richard Johnson from Split Zone Duo, and this video is brought to you by our friends at Nokian Tires. College football needs the MAC for a very simple reason. Do you see this here? This is the American Midwest. And these are the Midwestern schools in the Big Ten. A lot of people in the Midwest love college football, but only so many of them can fit into Big Ten schools. They gotta go elsewhere, and they deserve to have good football wherever they land. And so in the mid-1940s, we got the MAC. The MAC has been a unique college football experience. The membership has changed a bit over the years, but just a bit. It's one of the few conferences that is actually what it sounds like, Mid-American. This conference has had a lot of really good teams in it over the years. I think the program that best illustrates how good the MAC can be is Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. For a long time, this was a place players wanted to play and coaches wanted to coach. Did you know the winningest coaches of all time from Michigan and Ohio State came from Miami of Ohio first? Same with this guy, who won a bunch of championships at Notre Dame. That coaching lineage actually honestly still exists today. This guy, head coach of the Los Angeles Rams, he played at Miami of Ohio. In the 1970s, this program beat Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina in back-to-back-to-back years. From 1973 to 1975, in fact, this program had the best winning percentage in college football. Fast forward a few decades from then, and Roethlisberger was on campus. Since then, it's not like the MAC hasn't had any good teams. Northern Illinois was really good for a couple years and went to the Orange Bowl. You probably remember the 2015 Western Michigan team, coached by PJ Fleck, unbeaten until the Cotton Bowl, but it's true. The MAC hasn't had a big, nationally relevant championship race since Ben Roethlisberger was there in the early 2000s, and that guy's about to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This isn't just perception. By pretty much any measure, the MAC has had a slow 21st century. A lot of teams from non-power conferences have won major bowl games. The MAC hasn't. So here's the big question. What happened to the MAC? Why did a league that played some of the best football outside of the power conferences become, if anything, a meme? You might think it's a simple answer, NIL and the transfer portal. For instance, here's Miami's coach in 2024, Chuck Martin, talking about how his Lou Groza award-winning kicker went to Alabama.
All right, special teams, lost your kicker. Carter McLaughlin.
We didn't lose him. He's at Alabama. We know
Yeah,
exactly.
I understand
We know exactly
that.
where he's at. Like you media people, it's all pretend. Like, no, Alabama stole our kicker.
Yes,
they
did.
illegally recruited
Why didn't you want to say it,
They
Coach?
illegally recruited our kicker and stole him from us. And like that's a fact. But that's college. But we act like it's not. We live in this la world. Like, hey, let's not talk. I don't know why
Here we
everybody knows
go.
what's going on. So, yeah, Alabama stole our kicker. A couple other schools tried to steal it, but then okay, what's the question?
Yes, there's something to all that. After Miami won the MAC in 2023, they lost their best quarterback, running back, wide receiver, edge rusher, and yes, kicker, all to power conference teams. But the fact of the matter is, the MAC was in clear decline before any of that happened. 20 years ago, the MAC was actually the richest conference outside of the power conferences. But by 2024, the MAC was almost at the bottom of the sport in athletic revenue. What's the main culprit here? TV deals and realignment. Not only did the Big Ten and the SEC make billions of dollars, but the American Athletic Conference came into existence, adding schools in big cities that had more television appeal than the small town cities in the Midwest that the MAC featured. To keep up with the times, the MAC started playing games on weeknights when ESPN would pay more to have them on TV. Those weeknight games are their own problem. You want to watch on TV flipping channels? Sure. But if you're a student, are you trying to go sit in the freezing cold in Kalamazoo, Michigan on some Wednesday night in October? No, probably not. So, what happened? Well, a lot of MAC schools lost a lot of attendance over the years. Look, I like the odd weeknight game too, but college football is a sport that's meant to be played on Saturdays. And here's the kicker. It's not like playing these games on weeknights actually makes the MAC that much money. One of the league's best teams is leaving the conference to get more money elsewhere. This is the long-term problem. The MAC getting pretty good programs that didn't stick around. And I get it, because the money just isn't that good. Big Ten teams are making well over $50 million a year on TV money alone. MAC schools bring in just over half that, and most of it is just money their universities give them. So nowadays, a lot of other teams in college football just don't take the MAC very seriously, and that's clearest in the coaching carousel. When Urban Meyer won at Bowling Green, he got the job at Utah. When Brian Kelly won at Central Michigan, he got the job at Cincinnati. When Matt Campbell won at Toledo, he got the job at Iowa State. When PJ Fleck went to that Cotton Bowl with Western Michigan, he got the job at Minnesota. Just think about the big list of coaches who went from Miami University to bigger jobs. But now coaches can hang in the MAC for a long time, do pretty well, but just never get the call. In fact, a handful of MAC coaches have left head coaching jobs just to become assistants elsewhere. In the college football playoff era, a group of 5 team has made a New Year's Six bowl game every year, but it's almost never the MAC. To even get one appearance, a MAC team had to literally go undefeated. There are still great stories in the league every year. And there are still MAC teams that will go head-to-head with power conference teams and beat them in front of lively crowds that care a ton about college football. MAC teams with pretty much no budget still beat teams with a lot of money in the bank account. And as college football conferences now stretch all across the country, it's pretty cool that there's still a league somewhere that makes geographic sense. Well, Buffalo and UMass notwithstanding. The MAC as it used to exist is dead, but long live the MAC.